Hello from Wisconsin on a Saturday morning. Here in my neck of the woods, it has switched from summer to fall, like someone doing 120 on the interstate. Just saw a state trooper. We went from like almost 80 degrees down to 55 overnight. And it looks like that's kind of where it's going to stay. So I am busy winterizing my chickens coop and run so they'll be protected from the wind. But that's not what we're going to talk about today. My last video was about finding your why. Now that you've found your why and you've decided that you want to make changes, how do you start? Do you need to track things? Do you need to go completely 100% one way? Is there a middle ground? Those are what I'm going to discuss today. Depending on your why is going to depend on how fast you need to start. If your why is, I just want to have a little bit more energy, I don't really have major health issues, I could use to drop a few pounds, I'd like to build a little muscle, I want to improve my sleep, maybe improve my focus a little, then you slowly transition. One other thing I forgot to mention is you need to look at where you're coming from. If you are coming from a way of eating that you are living out of boxes and bags and you are a carboholic, whether that's the cookies and cakes or you're having pastas and breads 3, 4, 5 times a day, your 3 meals and snacks. If you don't want a rough transition, like I'm talking drug withdrawal transition, you will need to switch slowly. If you have cancer or you're really needing to change because you've got diabetes coming on, or you're looking at something detrimental, you may want to change your slowly a little faster. So instead of taking 2 weeks, you may want to completely change over in a week. You're going to have to make that decision. One thing that does help with sugar or carb withdrawals is obviously making sure you're drinking enough water, but also making sure that you keep your electrolytes up. So you will want to take salt throughout the day. That is going to be huge because that will help prevent or at least minimize the flu symptoms of that transition. And at the same time, you will want to increase your fats, even in that transition period, because your body is trying to figure out not burning sugar for fuel to burning fat for a fuel. So you can just take little bits of butter if you're feeling like, I just need a bit of energy. There's different fat bombs that you can look up. That's just like pure fat. Don't add the sweeteners and stuff like that. You can make brown butter bites. Those are very good and have a good mixture of the salty with the fat. And I'll be doing a video of those, making that soon. So those will be good ways to switch over. But now back to the person that's just needs to do a slow transition. This is what I recommend to my clients that are in that situation. And that is to first cut out like the breads and pastas. If you eat rice too, don't just go just cutting out all of that, because it's going to be a shock to your system. I would minimize the rice, and this is just an example. But wheat stays in your body a lot longer. And so that's really the first thing that you want to get rid of. And that's where those breads and pastas and stuff are. If you need to, in the beginning, use those keto-friendly products at the store for that transition, and you can afford it, there's nothing wrong with that. They're less bad, as Dr. Berry says, than, like the whole wheat bread or the white bread. So buy one of those keto loaves of bread. But then when that loaf, or the two, if that's what it takes you, runs out, by that time you should be done transitioned with that. Then once you've gone a few days without bread and whatnot, then cut out the rest of the grains. So that's going to be your corn, your rice, your quinoa, if you eat that. All of those. Those are all sugar too. It's just and they're all very full of anti-nutrients, and they are extremely inflammatory. So if you live with pain, and that's one of the reasons that you're doing this, you want to get rid of all of that stuff as soon as possible. And while you're getting rid of those things, you want to increase your protein and your fats. So eat that good fatty meat. Burgers, steak, if you like chicken thighs, those are a fattier version of chicken. Turkey can be extremely fatty. Salmon is very good. Sardines are very good. If you deal with a lot of pain and a lot of inflammation, you may need to eliminate, or at least limit, your dairy. So like cheeses and things like that. You definitely want to get rid of milk for most people, and like the more liquidy dairy. For most people, a little bit of heavy whipping cream now and then is tolerated. But again, if you're if you get inflamed easily, or you fatten easily, you might want to keep like that to a minimum. I love Swiss cheese, but I still I keep that to a minimum. Maybe twice a week I'll have a little bit of Swiss cheese with some ham or something. So now you're a week in, you've kept your salt increased, and you can put salt in water. You can put it right in the palm of your hand and just kind of put it on your tongue and then just flush it down with water. I have a video which I'll link to my electrolytes video that I did, and that gives some suggestions there. Now that you're past getting rid of those processed foods, go through your cabinet and you want to eliminate anything that has seed oils. So that would be soybean oil, canola oil, vegetable oil, sunflower oil, safflower oil, all those things, because they don't have oil. They're extremely inflammatory because of the process that it takes to make those oils. So you want to get rid of those. And you want to bring in the butter, the tallow, you want to bring in, I use bacon grease a lot. If you do plant oils, coconut oil is good, extra virgin olive oil, but don't cook with it. You can lightly saute, but that's going to be about it. Otherwise, use it cold. Avocado oil is fine. So those are the oils that we keep in our house for cooking. Next that you're going to do is you want to stop snacking. So you're going to have your breakfast. And breakfast doesn't have to be breakfast food. You want to have a steak, you want to have burger patties for breakfast, have that for breakfast. You don't have to have eggs and bacon for breakfast, but by all means, that's perfectly fine. So you're going to have breakfast, you're going to eat until you're comfortably full. Like, you don't want to be stuffed where it's roll me out of here, but you want to be like, I'm done. I'm full. And then you don't want to eat again until lunch. Then you're going to have your lunch and you're going to do the same thing. And then you don't want to eat again until dinner. And then after dinner, you are done and you are starting your overnight fast until breakfast the next morning. Do that. Break that habit of snacking, of munching through the day. That's going to help keep your insulin level low. It's going to give your pancreas a break in between the meals and then that nice long fast. So hopefully, well, depending on where you live, some people eat dinner like really, really late. I don't like to do that because then my food's digesting while I'm trying to sleep and then I can't sleep. So hopefully you're done with dinner between 6 and 7 and then you start that fast and you've got until the next morning. So you've got at least 10 to 12 hours. That's a nice long break. Start cutting out the really, really sugary fruits. And again, this is going, and vegetables, and this is going to depend on what your why was and where on the proper human diet spectrum you fall. If you have cancer, you want to fall as close to 0 as possible, which means you want to maybe have some berries once a week and keep it to a small amount. You don't want to be having any vegetables that are higher in carbohydrates because all of those will feed the cancer. Now that's an extreme case. If you're just like, well, Alzheimer's runs in my family and I'm just kind of trying to stave that off, you can probably be somewhere between like in the 50-ish total carbohydrates range. And then so you could enjoy some berries and, you know, maybe an orange or a little bit of an apple or a little bit of sweet potato. That's just fine. So again, it's going to be very dependent on your why and how you feel eating those things. Some people can eat tomatoes and feel totally fine. Other people eat tomatoes and within an hour to a couple of days, they have arthritis pain and they're just inflamed. So you have to do your own experiment with your own body. So knowing your why is going to dictate which fruits and vegetables, if any, you can have. So this is really easy to get started. Cut out the processed crap. No liquid dairy. No grains. No wheat. And figure out where you fall on the whole food carbohydrate spectrum of fruits and vegetables. It does not have to be complicated. Keep your electrolytes up. And if you start there and you just do that, you will be 90% above the majority of the population. That also means no sugar. No sugar in your coffee. If you're not a carboholic, you can get some liquid stevia. I should do a video on sweeteners. I'll do that. You can get I like the liquid stevia by Sweet Drops. They're organic, they're pure, and then you can titrate the sweetness so you can actually start dialing down the sweetness. The Now brand, NOW, also makes a really nice pure monk fruit, and that's super concentrated, so just a couple of drops and you've got just a little bit of sweetness in there. Those things are not going to increase your insulin. They're not going to do anything that would feed any bad cells. For some, they may cause inflammation depending on where your gut health is. Again, that's on a personal issue. As someone that's lived with chronic pain and chronic inflammation for many, many years, and I now have that under control, I can say that they do not cause that in me. But that's me personally, and I keep it to a bare minimum. But definitely, the biggest way to fall off the wagon is to not clean out your cupboards and get rid of all the crap. And I know it might seem wasteful. If it's not expired, take it to a homeless shelter, because those people, I mean, that's starvation food, and homeless people, they're grateful for whatever they can get. And at that point, I mean, if I was homeless, I would eat the starvation food. It just is what it is. It might sound awful, but it's not like you have to just throw it in the trash. So it does not have to be an all or nothing. It depends on you. But it definitely needs to be an all or nothing by the time your transition phase is up. You're in what some people call it the priming phase, of no processed foods. That like has to be a non-negotiable if you want to have your best health. I'm not your mommy. I got plenty of kids of my own. You make that decision. If you're like, oh, I'm going to have this bun and, you know, it's only going to be a one-time thing, you're adults. You can do that. If it causes you pain, that's a lesson learned. If it doesn't, and it doesn't cause you cravings, and you can truly do that, you know, we're just like, yep, I just did it that one time, and I might do that twice a year, and you're good with that, I don't care. I want to help you have your best health and meet your health goals. That's my goal. That's why I come on here with no makeup on a Saturday morning, because I want to make these videos when my house is quiet and I can concentrate and I can help you with some tidbits here and there. If you need more help or individualized help, I do individualized coaching. You can reach out to me through this page, or through my YouTube channel, or on my website, sherryslowcarbkitchen.com, and I would be happy to do a consultation and help you figure out a plan. So that's it. Get rid of the processed crap. If you need to do it faster, do it faster. Keep that salt in water up, because you're going to start lowering your insulin and your kidneys are going to start releasing all that stuff that they had stored. And you don't want to feel like crap. You don't want to get headaches. None of that stuff. So keep your salt up. Salt, 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 salt. Increase fat in those first couple of weeks, because that's going to help with your energy and your transition. Prioritize protein. Eat good meats. They do not have to be grass-fed. They don't have to be grass-finished. Eat what you can afford. Get rid of the seed oils and the liquid dairy. And then figure out where you fall on the fruits and vegetables spectrum. I don't eat spinach anymore. I don't eat kale. I'll have some green beans. I like green beans. And I like asparagus. But those are very uninflammatory to me. Kale and spinach and like lettuce and stuff have a lot of inflammatory anti-nutrient properties, and they make me hurt. So I don't eat them. Why do I want to eat something that makes me hurt? So you figure that out for yourself, and that's literally all there is. Now, if you're a numbers nerd like me, and you want to see, you're like, I want to have some veg, maybe a little fruit, but I have to stay under a certain amount of total carbs to meet my goal. I will link a video I did on how to use Carb Manager. You can track, or like you're just wanting to see what a food is for protein wise. Maybe you're like my husband, where you're type 1 diabetic and you need to see the amount of protein. Or maybe you're worried you're not getting enough protein. And protein is extremely important, and we'll talk about that in another video on how much protein to get. But if you're like, I don't know how much protein is in a pound of hamburger, well, you can use Carb Manager to like put in what you're eating, and it will tell you the protein, because a pound of hamburger is not a pound of protein. It has water and gristle and other things in there, but only a portion of that pound is going to be protein. So a lot of times that's what I like to do when I'm just kind of trying to see or make sure, like if I'm feeling kind of funky for 1 week or whatever, and I look back and I'm like, maybe I didn't get enough protein, then I might track. So I'll link that video. But you don't have to track. But if you're curious, fine. Do not limit your food. Eat until you are full. And do not worry about the calories. Your body doesn't know what a calorie is. Calorie counting is wildly inaccurate anyway. Your body knows what protein and fat and carbohydrates are. That's what it knows. So if you are going to track with Carb Manager or Chronometer, ignore the calories, because undereating can be just as detrimental to your health as eating too many carbohydrates. Trust me on this. Please trust me on this. So I think that I have gotten everything that I wanted to get today. If you have any questions or I can clarify anything, please leave a message in the comments. I will leave a link to my website, as well as to the places I talk about that you can get electrolytes. If this was helpful, please be sure to share with others. And as always, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit the thumbs up. Thanks, and we'll talk again soon.